am back. Today is Thursday, and we got season 5, episode 4 of How to Get Away with Murder. I am still under the weather, and you can probably hear it in my voice, but I just want to go ahead and get this video out the way. So appreciate me hanging in there, being a trooper. Watch the video, subscribe, share, whatever you want to do. So I'm gonna do it. Hopefully, I keep my energy throughout this hour-long episode, but yeah, let's get it. Annalise decided to take Tegan up on her offer to come to the salsa club to do a little dancing. She's there, but her mind is kind of preoccupied because she's still thinking about the conversation that her and Nate had about Bonnie's sister actually being the one that kidnapped the baby from the hospital and not Bonnie. So Nate is trying to convince Annalise that they should tell Bonnie about this because Bonnie was 15 and her dad lied and told her that the baby died. So Bonnie is none the wiser, and Annalise is just not having it. She doesn't want to tell Bonnie anything about that. So yeah. Okay, so this whole wedding is starting to come together. Kind of going back a little bit. Michaela is hungover. She got really drunk to kind of get over the argument that she had with Tegan, because Tegan wants nothing to do with Michaela at this point. So she got really drunk and she went to Asher's house, I guess, to beg him to take her back for whatever reason. So yeah, now we're moving forward, and now everybody's at this I'm gonna call it a crash pad because I don't know how else to describe it. So all of the students, including Oliver and the baby, now live at this house that Oliver bought for everybody, I'm assuming. So everybody's there and everybody's kind of talking about the wedding planning stuff now. So I'm going to assume, this wedding stuff is starting to develop. And Connor's kind of like, no wedding stuff until after we get Nate Sr. off on his charges. So now Annalise is going to be meeting Nate's dad again. I guess she's going to try to appeal his case. We'll see what happens with that. All right, so Nate and Annalise went to see Nate Sr., and, he seems to think if he gets off on his charges, he's going to end up on Nate's couch. So him and Annalise are arguing, and she's like, that's not the best case scenario. The best case scenario is going to end up in a mental facility. So Nate kind of wants to, spare giving him the negative, he wants to spare his dad and not crash his dream. Like, let him think he's going to end up on my couch, and then when he gets off, face reality at that point. So he was like, hey, you tell Bonnie what we know about her, and I'll tell my dad what we know about his situation. And so they start arguing about the who's going to tell who what, and in true Annalise fashion, she just has this major spiel and storms out. So that is where we're at on the first break. Commercial break, and Oliver shows up to Frank's house to say, hey, yeah, I found a cloning program that'll actually work on flip phones because Maddox has he utilizes the flip phone for whatever reason. That's already sketchy. And Frank goes, yeah, I already found someone that's, more nerdier than you are. His name's Otis. So we already had it figured out. So Oliver's like, his name's Gabriel Maddox. Excuse me. Why are you trying to clone Gabriel's phone? And he was like, what are you talking about? He was like, you asked for a program for flip phones, and I observed and saw that Gabriel utilizes flip phones. So what is that about? And Oliver's like, Frank is trying to get out of having to answer the question. And Oliver's like, okay, well, I asked Annalise, and since Frank he's doing this on his own, and Annalise knows nothing about it, he has to, kind of give Oliver some story to pacify him. So he takes him upstairs, which, who wants to be alone with Frank? As many people as he done killed and chopped up and whatever. But anyway, he went upstairs with Frank. And he was like, yeah, Annalise has me doing background checks on all of her students. She's always had me do this, blah, 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 blah. So she tells him a little bit about Gabriel and that he went to jail for assault one time or another, and the charges got dropped. And then he kind of makes Oliver a little bit uncomfortable, talking about, I don't even have a porn collection that is that big. And I was like, okay, stop talking. I don't want to hear anymore. So he's gotten out of that this time. All right, so now Annalise and I don't know her boss's name, so I'm just going to keep calling him my boss. Not only to her boss and Tegan are, and they're talking, kind of eating some sandwich, some cold cut type situations. I guess whatever this cold cut company is, they're potentially the new client since they lost the really big client last episode. So now Annalise has to entertain them, and she kind of bought herself some more time. So the boss and Tegan are now they're gonna go schmooze the new client, I guess, to kind of get in good with them. All right, so Annalise is visiting Kristoff and kind of having a flashback at the same time of when her and Bonnie were younger, and she was cross-examining Bonnie, just kind of saying, hey, maybe you had a hysterical pregnancy, maybe you weren't really pregnant, da da da. And Bonnie's, goes into the whole explanation of her dad threatened to kill her and her sister if she said anything, which a few moments prior to this part, we see that Nate is looking up Julie Winterbottom, which is Bonnie's sister. They look a lot alike, which I'm going to assume it's Bonnie playing both roles for the sake of the episode. And yeah, so I don't know, maybe I missed something all these seasons. I never knew that Bonnie had a sister, so it'll be interesting to see how they introduce Bonnie's sister and, learn a little bit about her character and how she plays a role in Bonnie's delusions of grandeur. Yeah. So we're back from the second commercial break, and looks like Nate is kind of conducting some surveillance on Bonnie's sister Julie, and it looks a little. How do I say this without offending anyone? There's no way. She looks a little poor white trashy, for lack of a better explanation. Like there's a lot of a lot of trailer park potential happening right now, so we'll see how that goes. And he thought it was a good idea to call Annalise and update her on her surveillance while she's waiting on Bonnie to meet her for lunch or shopping or whatever they're about to do. And Annalise is like, get out of there right now, leave. So I'm gonna assume Annalise knows a lot more about Julie than she would like for Nate to know. So I'm sure there's something sinister involved. So the new potential client is coming in, meeting everybody, and she knows Michaela. Michaela used to previously work for her, whatever kiss ass. And then Annalise walks up. She's already done with her lunch with Bonnie, and the lady is like, yeah, I'm pleased to meet you. You look better in person than you did on the news. Was that shade from when Annalise was about to when Annalise went to jail and was about to get convicted? And then she was like, oh yeah, your hair was also different. And she reaches in to touch Annalise's hair. Wait a minute. So Annalise was like, you can see it without touching it, essentially is what she said. So I'm here for the clapback. They might not get this as a client because she doing too much. All right, Nate was instructed to leave Julie's house without doing anything else. Annalise told him not to. Of course, he didn't do that. He went into the car that Julie and some man were arguing in after they went in arguing in after they went in the house and found a needle and picked the needle up and took it to the lady that he's knocking off to get the DNA ran on that. So, side note, Nate is very invested in this particular case, which is weird because in none of the seasons, like his only job was to, do what Annalise needed him to do and knock her off and call it a day. So this is interesting. Just don't get yourself killed, Nate. All right, so Annalise put Maddox on a mission to go to the DA's office to get some filed. He runs into Asher and Bonnie, and she introduces herself, hi, I'm Bonnie, and he goes, yeah, Annalise is Bonnie, right? And Asher stands up and goes, no, she's her own Bonnie, whatever that means. Great comeback. Yeah, right. And he was like, and then I keep calling him Maddox. His name is Gabriel Maddox, but it's gonna be Maddox now. Maddox goes, well, why did you start working for Annalise? Like he's trying to pry into what's happening, and I'm gonna assume he's there some type of spy because of how sketchy he is. I don't know. Haven't figured him out yet either. And Bonnie's like, I'm not gonna get into that with you. And Annalise needed that file yesterday. So what are you waiting on to do what she needed you to do? All right. So Tegan, Asher and Bonnie was commiserating over missing each other in the last scene. Not interested in talking about that. Let's move on. Michaela and Tegan were kind of talking, and Michaela has history with a potential new client, and she was like, "Hey, when we worked for her, they made us clock out for breaks and da 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 da, and I guess that's illegal in this world." And Tegan was like, "So what importance is that? What importance is that to me in our organization?" And Michaela was like, "Yeah, you could use that to blackmail them into signing your company on as a client, blah blah blah." And Tegan's like, "Hey, do you have like some pay stubs, time cards, anything to kind of prove this?" And Michaela's like, "No, but I need time." And Tegan goes, "Well, she's making her decision tomorrow, so you better figure it out." So we'll see what Michaela can do. All right, so they're trying to, get Nate's dad off for killing the his cellmate during his time in prison, and Ellie's kind of prepping him for his cross examination, and they're kind of feeding him what he needs to say, and he's remembering what he needs to say. However, he also has some type of mental disorder, and his reality is altered. So she goes, "Why was your cell messed up the day that you killed your cellmate?" And he was like, and she was like, he was like, "I was boxing," and she was like, "Who, your cellmate?" He was like, "No, Joe Frazier." So he's a little bit out of it. So it's gonna be hard. They're gonna rip him apart on the stand. They think they did that the first time he went to the Supreme Court. So I don't know. I don't know if it's wise to put him on the stand because his mentally he's not capable. Which I guess is the premise. Like he killed someone because he wasn't mentally stable. I guess is their whole argument. So I guess that could play to their advantage, but we'll see. From yet another commercial break, and Annalise's boss and Keating are Annalise's boss and Tegan are talking to the potential client. Note that this is a older white woman, and they're kind of talking about yesterday when Annalise snapped on her when she was about to touch Annalise's hair, and she goes, I'm mortified. I'm sorry that happened. I went home and Googled why you shouldn't touch an Afro-American's hair. And then she looks at Tegan like, and, now I understand. So at this point, I hope they don't get the case because I don't want to see her no more. All right. So they are about to either listen to her decision or give her a decision. The lady, the potential client, and Michaela rushes in like, "Hey, I have what you needed, Tegan. This is the report you were about to give her." And Tegan goes, "That's not the report, but sit down." So she makes Michaela sit down and stay in the meeting, and she tells the CEO from the new company that they were about to merge it with, "Hey, historically it's been you, your father, your brothers, or whatever. It's been a family company. However, with the protests and the strike or whatever is happening with your company, you need a change of pace." And namely, that the lady is the major problem why their company is not having continued success. So she proposes that the lady step down as CEO and make her the face of their legal team. This is the proposal that Tegan offers to the potential client. So we'll see what her response is. I have it a pause right now, and she's looking like Tegan told her raisins don't go in potato salad, but I ain't saying nothing about that. That's all I'm saying. So now she's left with her jaw hanging open, and they're walking away, and her and Michaela are kind of talking, and Michaela's like, "Why did you make me stay up and do all this research, and you didn't even use any of my information?" And she goes, "That's not really a way you want to start a working relationship with this company with blackmail." Which, duh, that makes sense. And she was like, essentially, it was just a test to see if Michaela could just do normal legal work, because we know that they've always been tied up into like conspiracy and murder and mudslinging. So she was like, it was a test and you passed. You just did normal law work. So Michaela's like, "Do you still hate me?" She was like, "You were at a 10 last night. Today you're at 8. So I guess she kind of likes her a little bit now, I guess. All right, so we are moving on. Oliver and Laurel are looking at Maddox's application to their school, and he's talking about how he was born to, well, he was raised by a single parent that was that had substance abuse, and they also realized that his assault charge was him beating up the pharmacist that was over prescribing his mom, hence contributing to her substance abuse problem. That's really not a good way to go about it, but that's what he did. And then Connor was like, hey, since you're hacking people's applications and files, let me go ahead and look at mine. So he types his name into the system. And what he really wants to know is why Annalise chose him. Everybody else knows why Annalise chose them to be a part of her team. He just doesn't know why he was chosen. So he looks at it and he was like, oh my gosh, she lies all the time. So I don't know what he saw and what Annalise lied about, but he's going to have a problem with her yet again. All right, so Nate's dad is giving his I think the word is deposition, I guess to survey his mental capacity at the time that he killed the guy. And Nate and Annalise are sitting outside, and they're kind of nervous or whatever. And he's still trying to convince Annalise to go ahead and tell Bonnie. Her sister stole her child out of the hospital when she was little, because she's still not aware. And Nate's dad is kind of in there, and when it boils down at the end of all that he's saying, it kind of seems like he really didn't know what he was doing. He was out of it, and he told the guards he was in mental distress, and nobody listened. So, yep, the American justice system, great job yet again. So as a result, Annalise and her team now have the opportunity to plead the insanity defense at the Supreme Court for Nate's dad, which is a major milestone because they wouldn't allow that the last time that they were at the Supreme Court. All right, so Annalise made Connor her second chair for this new case that they're going to be presenting. But Connor, from whatever he saw on their computer, he couldn't let it go. And he asked Annalise, I asked you if you called the president to let me back in the school, and you told me no. But the truth was, she actually did call the president to allow him back into school, just I guess as a favor to him. And he's not happy with that answer, and they get into a screaming match. And at the end of it, just as fast as I could tell this part of the story, he is no longer co-chair, and now Maddox, the new kid, is co-chair. So interesting. All right, so Annalise is talking with her boss, and he's congratulating her on Nate Sr.'s case, and he said, I'm sorry I can't be here to help you and support you. I'm going to be in London. And she was like, what are you going to London for? And he was like, I can't talk about it. And she goes, yeah, is that about your misconduct with your female clients? And I guess she kind of put two and two together because anytime he needed to go see a female client, he had to take Annalise or Tegan with him. And he was like, I can't talk about that. And she was like, why? And legally, he can't talk about why he's going to London or what's happening with him and his female clients. So interesting. I don't know what Annalise signed up for and who she's working for, but girl, watch your back, because no comment. Girl, just watch your back. Now Nate has the luxury of telling his father that he's going to potentially end up in a mental institution. So he's going to go from one prison to another, in my opinion. I am an expert. He's going to go from jail to a mental institution if his case is successful. So he's going to get out of jail and he's going to go to a mental institution. He's not going to end up on Nate's couch as he previously assumed. So Nate gets to break that news to his dad. Oh, almost shed a third tear. So he broke the news to his dad, and you kind of assume like his dad was going to be upset because his dad kind of has like angry outbursts sometimes that he's not able to control from previous episodes in my experience. But he goes, so I can't go live with you. And Nate goes, no, they're going to put you in a mental institution, if they let you out of jail. And he goes, do they have their own bathrooms? And he goes, yes. Do they not have bars on the windows? No, they don't. And Nate, kind of volunteers information. Yeah, and the food's not that bad. And his dad goes, well, do I at least get to see you? And Nate kind of goes, yeah, whenever you want. And his dad says, you know what? Well, that's a win in my book. So that kind of hit me right there. But Way to take it on the chin. All right, Nate's just taking more hits back to back. He's sitting in the car having a little breakdown or whatever. He's crying, and whatever the chick's name is that's been doing all this DNA testing for him because he's knocking her off or whatever. She was like, "Yeah, I found a DNA match for the needle that he took from Julie's house." And he was like, "What were the results?" And she was like, "Is that all you have to say to me right now?" And he was like, I got a lot going on right now. We'll talk about it later." And she was like, "I know what I need, and let's just end this before anybody else gets hurt." So that's where that scene left off. I wish we could have got the DNA information, but I'm sure that'll happen again at some point within the next few minutes. All right, so Annalise knows the results. Nate knows it. They're not saying it out loud, but Bonnie's kind of paused. Now they're going over to Maddox, and he's Googling Bonnie went to bottom. And pause. Take a pause. So whoever Julie was arguing with in the car is potentially Bonnie's son. That's tough. Yeah, so we all know that Bonnie is fragile, and she's always just one piece of bad news away from blowing up the joint. So I'm gonna assume whoever's dead in the snow, Bonnie killed him. No, that's another prediction. So Maddox probably isn't Bonnie's son then. All right, so we're flashing forward to a month and a half later at the wedding, and Michaela and Bonnie are looking at each other, and then everybody's, kind of walks up to Michaela. Where's Oliver? Where's Oliver? Nobody knows. So she was like, "Hey, let's split up and let's call him. He can't be far away." And she calls Nate's phone instead, and Bonnie has Nate's phone in her pocket. So, yeah. And Annalise is in her room, and major breakdown. So, yeah. All right, so looking at the preview for next episode, Bonnie has beef with Nate because he did the research on her son. Nate's dad has beef with him because of the whole legal system process. So I'm assuming there's some bad news happening there. And so Nate's not gonna have a good run next episode. Oliver's still missing. Nate's missing. Somebody dead at the party, and the baby's still there. Why is the baby at a wedding? It's a newborn. Why is he there? Just side note. I digress. I've had quite a bit of wine, as I normally do with my reviews. So, So looking forward to next week. Things are picking up, even though, this kind of show kind of starts out with the bang. It's elevating at this point. So, see you next week.